Okay. I'd like to make a motion to open the Board of Directors meeting for Tuxedo Local Development Corporation on March 28th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. The next thing is annual review and approval of several things. Now, Andrew, you're going to give us a audit or a presentation for this. This is the other LDC, so I'm assuming that's why you're there.
It'll be similar to the last one.
Okay, so let's just go through. Wait, old business, new business. What have we got? Where's Andrew in here?
Audit?
Fiscal audit report, the very first thing.
Okay, so you're up, Andrew.
Okay. Am I able to share my screen? Or do you have-
Give me a second. Yes, you are.
Okay. Okay, great. Oh, now where is my presentation? Hold on. There we go. Oh, that's not it. Hold on a second. I got to find the presentation. I thought I had it up there.
We're all on the same boat today. It's a busy day today.
It's one of those days.
Oof.
Let me just look and see.
We could probably go on to the other stuff while he's looking for it.
Let me see if it comes up now. I don't understand why. Oh, there it is. Okay, can everybody see that?
Oh, good. Yes.
Yeah, we got it.
Sorry about
Just
that.
enlarge it for us.
If I can just enlarge it,
I think you can, right?
it's why I have it. I just pulled it up on a PDF. How does it look on your screen? Too small?
Yeah, a little bit. Up at the top in the middle, you should be able to press plus and somewhere or.
That
Yeah,
better?
Fine on
Okay,
mine.
that's
Oh,
better.
perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'm going to go briefly through the Tuxedo LDC. Much like the Tuxedo Farms, the LDC is also a component unit of the town of Tuxedo. Basically because the town is the sole member of the corporation, so it automatically makes it a component unit. So it does get included in the financial statements of the town of Tuxedo, much like Tuxedo Farms. So when the town of Tuxedo's audit report is done, both of these component units will be included as blended component units. So you'll see their information in there. Any activity between the town and the component units will be eliminated in those financials. So for instance, there was $140,000 grant from the LDC to the town. That will sort of be eliminated when we put them together in the town-wide financial statement. And it'll be clear to see there'll be elimination columns so you can see what got eliminated. So we're not double counting anything. Going through Tuxedo's grant activity for the year, I just did a quick chart. So you're sort of familiar with the various grants that were awarded this year. So you can see the 5 grants that were there, what the award was, how much was received, and how much was paid out on all of those. The Tuxedo Historical Society, you paid out $25,000, but you haven't received anything yet until the beginning of 24. So that's why there's a $25,000 receivable at the end of the year. And Augusta Properties, you actually received the 165, only paid out 124. So there's 41,000 still sitting as restricted, waiting to be dispersed. So if you go down, the chart shows you what was received plus the receivable, what was paid out, and that will reconcile to the audit report. So if you're looking at the financials and you see the expenses and you see the revenues, that's what makes up those revenues and expenses. Because in the audit report, it just shows us 537,123, and the expenses show us 495,717. This way, as a board, you can look and see what's making up the revenues and expenses. The grant status for the year, total grant award is $2.1 million. Those are the years where you've had drawdowns so far. The first one was a long time ago, back in 2008, and then you started again last year in 22, and you drew down a total of 1.6 million. Excuse me?
No, I'm just talking to Dave real quick, sorry.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. No, I thought it was a question. So you draw down 1.6 million, which leaves a balance left on the grant award of 487. But you did draw down the 100,000 in January of 2024 with the Tuxedo Historical Society's second grant. So once that was drawn down in January, you have a total of 387,000 left to draw down for various grants.
Yeah.
41,000 still has to go out of that though to Augusta, correct?
No, the 40,000 was already drawn down though. You already drew it down, even though you didn't pay it yet. You'll pay it out of the bank account, but it was already drawn down the entire amount.
Okay.
So you could actually award 387,000 more in grants. That's what you have money left for.
What about the Historical Society? I thought you said that we only, could you go back up to that one?
Okay.
The first page?
Well, we got a check for $100,000, which, so they got, the way I'm seeing it, from what the paperwork that I just received is they got $25,000 initially, and now they have a check due for 50,000 and then follow up with another 25.
Right, so
So we have
75.
$100,000 in the bank right now to cover that.
Oh, that's included in the money, even though it hasn't
Yeah,
been dispersed.
Lennar sent us the check for 100,000 and we
Okay.
deposited it in
Oh,
Key
okay,
Bank, so it's
okay.
available for disbursement, but we're waiting for their receipts.
Okay,
Right. So yeah. So so the 100,000 you received in January, right? You still have to pay out the rest of the grant to the Historical Society. But then after that is when you'll have all of these in the first chart are accounted for. Once you receive that 100,000, all of the drawdowns are accounted for. So
Okay.
that's why after
Good
that
news.
is when you have the 387 remaining for new grants.
okay,
Okay.
Less
yeah.
your
Oh,
80
let's
and
do-
my 25.
Right, right.
So that's
So-
enough. Okay, we're still good.
So going on, because you're a component unit of the town, you are subject to government auditing standards. So we have to test and report on your internal controls and compliance. That's on pages 14 and 15 of the report. And as we had in previous years, there is really no significant internal controls in place for this LDC. This year, the board did approve all the grant disbursements, but there's no evidence of board approval on your normal operating expenses. So in other words, the day-to-day expenses that you're paying for legal costs or whatever should be board approved at a board meeting. At some point, they should be approved. There's also no bank reconciliations being prepared. Now, I understand that there's a very small amount of activity going on. And because of that, we're able to substantively test everything. So we can look at every transaction that went through your bank accounts and look at every invoice and make sure that everything is a legitimate expense and a revenue. However, so we're not putting any reliance on your internal controls. However, as a government agency, you're supposed to have some controls in place. So I really would recommend you put some kind of an approval process in place. It can be very basic, where the board has a list at a board meeting of the various expenses to the legal, to the accountant, to anybody else, and they're approving those disbursements as well as the large grant disbursements.
Okay.
Bank reconciliations, again, very small activity. There's pretty much a checkbook where the checks are being written in. And I understand that they're looking at the balance on the check, making sure that it matches the bank statement. But there's only one account is being done on a check register. The other account is not. That's where the money is being transferred in when it comes from the grants, and then it transfers to the operating account. But there should be bank recs. They should be very simple. When the bank statement comes in, you just write them right on the bank statement. You know, no outstanding checks. This is the bank balance, and someone should just look at it and initial it that a bank reconciliation was done. And the other thing is there's no financial statements, because all you're doing is just writing checks in a check register. Really, at no point during the year does anybody have any idea. I mean, you probably have a generic idea, but you know how much you've spent on various expenses, on various grants, things like that, and what the bank balance is without looking at the general ledger. There should be some kind of a financial statement, whether it's a QuickBooks system or just an Excel spreadsheet. The board should be able to look during the course of the year and see at any given time, you know, what's our cash balance? Do we have any receivables? Do we have any payables? What are our expenses? What are our revenues for the year? At any time. The way it's set up right now, there really is no system for doing that. It's just a check register. So again, I would recommend there be something put in place to total up your activity. So it could just be as simple as an Excel spreadsheet, where every time you write a check, you put it under a category, whether it's, you know, legal, accounting, office expense, so that those totals, they total up, and you can keep a running total of what the amounts are in each of those accounts. I understand that, you know, once this grant is drawn down, I don't know if the LDC is going to continue on. So it may be like a moot point if you pay out all these grants this year and you're done. But these are controls that are supposed to be in place.
Okay, makes sense.
And it should be very similar to the kind of controls the town has in place. That's what you should be like. You don't have to get as detailed. And an activity like a town, we have to have some reliance on internal controls because there's so many transactions. You know, with an entity like this, there's not as many. We can look at all the transactions, test all the transactions. But again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have controls, because if all of a sudden you started having a lot of activity, maybe you started doing a bunch of small grants, a lot of stuff started happening. If there's no controls over the money going in and out, you easily could lose track of what's going on.
Agree.
Now, I don't know, being new to this, who's actually responsible for doing that? Because the Tuxedo, Farms
It's
one
supposed to
went
be
without
Lori.
a purpose, like it was perfect.
It's gonna be Lori.
Right.
So Lori should be doing both of them, so
Yeah.
why is she doing one?
Well, the
one way,
Tuxedo
one
Farms is
way?
different. No,
right.
Unicap does Tuxedo Farm. You have somebody who's doing the bookkeeping and the accounting for Tuxedo Farms. That's different.
Okay.
And
Okay.
they
This
do.
is an easy one.
That
I
explains
mean,
it.
I
Got
can
it.
even do,
Okay.
I'll just do it. I mean,
Well, no. Okay,
I know what you're saying,
Yes.
but
Yeah, it
just,
should be
and
the
I
same.
only, I mean, I have some questions, but we can wait till after Andrew's done, because it's more applicable to the consultants.
okay.
So just like I said, just something in place to have, and really one of the most important is the approval process. The board really should be approving anything before you pay it. You know, it's good that you're approving the big grants, but you should be approving all the expenses. Just like in the town, every check that goes out of a town has to be approved by the board. You can't just, you know, you can't skip any, they all have to be approved. Same thing here. You do get an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, which means everything's in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. So the report on the financial statement is separate from the report on internal control. They're in the same report, but we can give you the issues we had with your internal control, and still, because of the fact that there wasn't a numerous amount of transactions, we could substantively test everything and still reach a conclusion on the audit. If you had a lot of transactions, had these kind of controls in place, we probably wouldn't even be able to give an opinion, because we would have no way of knowing whether the activity is accurate or not. But in this case, we're
Right.
still able to give you a clean opinion because there's only a limited amount of transactions during the year, and we can test them all.
Okay,
We'll get
All
this.
right.
fixed.
we'll fix it up.
Okay, that's it. Yeah, Joe, just get that fixed up, and really they're kind of simple because you don't have a lot of activity. And then you
Right.
should be good going forward from there.
Okay, Andrew, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, and if you have any questions, you know what, you can reach me. Just shoot me an email, call me anytime.
Thanks again. Have a good
Thank you.
day.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. I think we'll wait for my questions till after we get through the rest of the agenda. So next is annual review and approval. So I'm going to make a motion to approve the 2024 fiscal audit report, the bylaws, the code of ethics, compensation reimbursement, and attendance policy, defense and indemnification, disposition of property guidelines, investment policy, procedure policy, travel policy, whistleblower policy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Well, I just have a question or a comment.
Mhm.
Discussion, yeah.
Yeah, can we do that now?
Sure.
Yep, we can.
Yeah, on the compensation policy, I don't have a problem with it, but Lennar will decline any compensation. So I don't know if that means you need to adjust anything, or it's just a separate position that the Lennar member is going to take.
I wonder what happened before with related. I don't think they took compensation either.
No, they didn't. Yeah.
So it'd just be for the other board members, I guess.
Okay,
Mhm.
right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's probably just for us. Yeah.
Hmm.
You're actually the funding member, right? So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
So-
don't overthink it.
But I hear
I'll
that's, and that's a
decline.
very valid question. Thank you, Mitch.
Noted, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm certainly in support of everything with that clarification.
Okay, so we had a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, other matters, review of 2023 operations and accomplishments annual. So we're just going to approve this, Rachel? The other matters?
Yes, we can give you a review if you want, but you receive
Yeah,
it in
if you could just
advance.
give us a really high level review, that'd be great.
Sure, Julie is the author, so I'll let Julie do the talking.
I knew you were gonna do that. So both the mission statement and measurement report and the operations and accomplishments report are required under public authorities law. The operations and accomplishments, I sent that to you. Let me just get it here in front of me. So basically, it states the purpose for the local development corp, what it was established for and its operations. The meetings that were held last year, the officers, committee members, and then for accomplishments, we listed the grants that were awarded during the reporting year. Pretty straightforward. I took it all really from the minutes of the 2023 meetings. I don't know if you have any comments or questions on that.
Okay,
And then the other item is the mission statement and measurement report. Again, something that's required under public authorities law and that we upload to the annual Paris report, the public authorities report. This is simply your mission statement for the year. There weren't any changes to it. And then there are performance measures, and these are really just to revitalize the Hamlet district. The additional questions that are on page 3, those are prescribed questions that the State Authority Budget Office requires be answered. And they haven't changed over the years. So this is consistent in prior years reporting.
okay. Now, do we have to approve that review?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve operations and accomplishments and mission statement and performance reports. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, elections of officers. Now, what did we do in the last LDC for this one? So there's audit and finance committee members and governance of committee members. We should probably follow suit on the same procedure, but I'm not recollecting that.
I think we
So
had three.
who is this an individual appointment, or is it the total board is in control of these functions, Julie?
That's a Rachel question.
So your officers will be one of each of you, president or chairperson, vice chair, secretary, treasurer. And then for the appointment of your audit and finance committee, it is intended to be comprised of the board. We would want 3 members on each board. So given the board is only 5 people, you'll want to make sure you have a decent representation of everyone, and you can select whomever you think is appropriate for those committees.
So we have to appoint those right now, individually?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so we need president, vice chairman, secretary, and,
Treasurer.
Treasurer.
oh, chairperson, sure.
Chair, co-chair, treasurer.
Okay, so I guess can I just arbitrarily appoint them, or should I nominate them?
You can make the nominations, and then we can do one motion, provided everyone agrees, and
Okay, so,
elect everyone.
well, I guess because
Yeah, you
I'll
should
be the president, and Rick, you can be
vice.
the chairman. Michelle, you'll be the vice chairman.
I don't
Oh,
think there's a
it's
It's
president
chair,
and
vice
chairman
chair.
separate? I thought it was.
Wait, I
No,
thought it-
you'll just have one.
Yeah.
It'll be,
President, chairman, secretary,
And treasurer.
and treasurer, okay. All right, so president will be me, chair will be, Rick, secretary will be Michelle,
Okay.
and treasurer, can I hold 2 roles?
We can have John.
and John
Van
Banyan.
Be the treasurer, okay. All right, so Dave, president, or Rick, chair, Michelle is secretary, and John Banyo. So I'd like to make a motion, that, myself, David McMillan, be nominated as president, Rick Marsh be the chairman, Michelle Lindsay as the secretary, and John Banyo as the treasurer. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll pick the
Okay.
checkbook up tomorrow, Dave.
I knew you were gonna say that, John. Oh, wait, you can do the Excel spreadsheet too, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, so old business, I don't think we have any, or we do. Actually, don't we have your, application? Oh,
Is
that's
that-
at the
that's
end,
new,
sorry,
right?
okay.
I'm sorry,
Because
did we do committee
did bring that
appointments?
forward from the last meeting, so that's what I thought there was one.
And we also have Reggie Barr was approved, right?
Reggie Barr was
Okay.
approved, and I
Okay.
actually have the, waiting for the check, I guess that's gonna come in the next week or so, so. New business, acknowledgement of fiduciary duties by directors, confidential board evaluation and board member training dates. So Julie or Rachel, can you drive us through that?
Sure. Before we do that, I'm sorry, did you appoint committees,
the
audit and
governance.
finance and governance?
I don't think we did.
No, it's just three
Sorry, you're
members.
right, we didn't.
So just three for
Governance
each of those
committee members
committees.
can be all four of us?
I do have boards, yes, that do all, well, there's 5 total board members. But if you want to have it, each of the, except for Mitch, then you could do
Yeah, we'll
all
just
4
do
of you
that.
on
So
governance.
I'll make a motion to appoint myself, Rick Marsh, Michelle Lindsay, and John Banyo to Governance Committee. Do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
now on to the acknowledgement.
Wait, one
Yeah,
more,
one more.
sorry. You need audit and finance too. That's another
Oh, I
committee.
thought we just did that.
You did
Oh.
That was
governance.
governance.
Oh, okay. Audit and Finance Committee is the same thing. Myself, Rick Marsh, Michelle Lindsay, and John Banyo. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't have my
Aye.
glasses, so
Yeah.
it's tough. No, I'm good. I'm almost all, put those away, please. All right, so now we're down to where you guys, acknowledgements of fiduciary duties by directors.
Okay, so those were sent to you ahead of time as well as the confidential board evaluations. Those are
Mhm.
required each year under public authorities requirements. So if you could fill those out, get them back to Lori Cosgrove, and then Lori will send me a packet with everything in it and I will handle it from there. The confidential board evaluations, we do need to submit a summary to the state and I'll take care of that. A board member training, new board members that have been appointed, that would be probably Dave, Rick, and Mitch. You're going to need to complete the required training. The next training date is April 17th,
Mhm.
9:30 a.m. to 11. And the state authority budget office does offer it on a regular basis. It's just the next one is April 17th. I can send you the link so you have it. You can register yourself. You sit at your computer for about an hour and a half and just listen to them.
Okay, sounds good.
What, wait, is there a test?
No,
No.
no, your test is serving on the board.
Oh, so dealing with Dave, that's the test? Okay.
I didn't say that.
Nice.
All right. Well, John and I were thinking it. Don't worry.
Feeling the
I'm
love.
gonna hit the mute button on you.
All right.
All right, so I'll send
Julie,
that
this is,
around.
Julie, this is John. What about the fraud questionnaire for 2023? Now, there's 3 new members on the board. They weren't on the board in 2023. But do you have to loop back and talk to the members who were on in 2023 and get the fraud questionnaire from them? I filled out mine, as we've discussed.
Did you say fraud questionnaire?
I
Yes.
think that's
Yes.
an audit. I think that's an Andrew
That
Arias.
came from Arias.
Oh, that's from Andrew.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
Andrew, yeah. And that was just part of his audit, so that doesn't really, come back to Julie or Rachel.
Right.
Yeah,
But he should close the loop on members who are no longer members, because they were members in 2023, and it was a questionnaire for 2023.
yeah, that's a
I don't know
good,
how important that is, but
well,
Yeah,
I'm
that
sure,
would be a question for Andrew Arias. I can't imagine the need to go to the prior board members. If they're no longer on the board, but I'll let Andrew Arias answer that.
okay. Okay, next is review of application for grant funding for the town of Tuxedo,
Mhm.
revitalization master plan. So, I've looked at it and understand it totally and what it is and agree totally that, this is definitely about the hamlet. It's focused on the hamlet. It's about the future of the hamlet. So with that said, Rick, any comments on the application?
No, looks good.
Michelle,
No?
John Banyo,
no, I have no problem with it.
Mitch?
Looks good.
Okay,
Okay, now there were 2 applications. The first one, we did the full cost after this. The first one asked for 60,000, but when we put all the costs together, hopefully you all received the one that.
Yeah, it's 80,
80,000.
right.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to
Right.
adopt, that final amount.
Any question on that from John and Mitch?
So the end of the day, that's gonna be the check request from Lennar is the 80?
Right.
Correct,
Mhm.
for this
Okay.
project.
Okay.
And as
well,
a reminder, we'll have Dave and Rick recuse themselves from the vote here.
Okay,
We're on board.
Okay, and then when we
Wow.
get to the finish line on this one, same as last time, I'll need an email couched in the form of an invoice as best you can so that I can get the dollars ordered as promptly as
I'll make a
possible.
motion. Okay, that, we can do that.
Okay.
The invoice. Okay, I'd like to make a motion for the Tuxedo Local Development Corporation to approve the grant request from the town of Tuxedo for Hamlet beautification in the amount of $80,000. Do I have a second from John or Mitch?
I'll second it.
Okay, seconded from John. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
okay, and just, like I said prior, I have just a couple questions for Julie and Rachel. So when we were talking about accounting, with Andrew, I noticed that we get, obviously you guys, the consultants are compensated. Is that a static amount? And if it is, what is the frequency?
So it is not a static amount. It's based on our billable rates, and we will invoice monthly for that. I think there are some past due amounts, and we will invoice in April. And it's just Julie and my time, primarily Julie's. I do try to be mindful of how much time I'm billing, given I have a higher
Right.
billable rate, of course. So we are mindful of that.
Okay, and payment. So how does that work? I mean, I see the invoices coming in. Obviously, we're paying you, it's LDC, so we're not using town funds to compensate you for this, so.
Correct.
What's what's the request mechanism for, uh, you know, disbursement of the money to pay the consultant charges?
Well, based on Andrew's feedback, what we should do is each board meeting, we should approve the invoices and payment. And then I think probably Mitch, the board would need to provide those invoices to Lennar for monies to be deposited into the account. It all comes out of the grant fund amount.
Okay,
That's
so
the
with
only-
that said, obviously, it sounds like we have some outstanding invoices, correct?
Yes.
Can we make that, can we do a motion today to approve the payment for the amounts?
We have to do
What-
that at the next meeting.
Well, that's one clarification. So, and no, it's not a concern. It's so your preference or the board's preference then sounds like those invoices from the consultants will be paid out of a Lennar payment, which is fine. Is it alternatively that it could come out of the 387,000 that we saw a few minutes ago?
I think that is where it comes from.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
way
that's
I've
where
always
it comes
understood
from.
it
Yep.
as
It'd be just
well.
like paying all the-
387.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not out of pocket for Lennar, it's already part of the disbursement process from the regular LDC funding.
Okay.
So
Thank you
that's
for
good
clarifying it.
news.
Yeah.
Good news, Mitch, right?
Well, no. All right. So here's you asked me, you forced me to say, my thinking is that I'd rather the Lennar checks be for specific directed projects than the day-to-day cost of running the company, so to speak.
I got you.
If it has to be, then of course we'll do what we need to do, but I think it's a better story. I use that word a lot. It's a better story if it's Lennar's funding project specific items.
Start taking it out of that.
So then.
Yeah, no, that
the
makes
money
sense,
would
yeah.
be Out of, so then Lennar will pay the separately?
No, Lennar's, no,
So-
for example, Lennar will pay the $80,000 towards a project, which is a
Right.
project to get to the improvement. But the fees for legal counsel would come out of the funds already in the corporation's account, which is that 387,000.
Yeah, so from
Is that-
the available funds in the LDC.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
Mitch is saying that he would prefer that it would be a different mechanism because he's gonna have to write a second check without an application, without the paperwork and all that
Mhm,
stuff. Just gonna be an invoice submitted to him.
Correct. It would just, I do whatever we need to do, but it's a cleaner conversation for all of us, to be blunt, that Olenar's always funding specific projects. If we're in a bind and we're funding something else, you'll tell me and we'll work it out, of course.
Okay. So how are we going to proceed on the outstanding invoices today?
So I can provide a copy of the invoice after this meeting, and I can tell you the outstanding amount. It is about 90 days old. A little bit
That's-
more before this
that's-
board, which there was transition, so no problem. It's $8,500. That represents Julie and my time for several months, and that would bring, you would be current, and then the next invoice would represent just current time for March work, all this annual
Okay, so
work.
this is a monthly billing or meeting?
It will bill if there's time, so, every month we don't work on something, we won't bill.
Okay,
but it-
okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it's only time incurred.
Okay. Yeah, well, it seems to me that we don't have any applications on the table for a few months. We need to convene anyway, just to pay the bills for the consultant. So we'll make that a standard procedure,
Okay.
okay? All right, looks like, anybody else have any questions? John?
No,
Mitch?
I'm
Okay.
fine.
Nope.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the Tuxedo LDC annual meeting at 5:04. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
right, thank you
Aye.
everyone so much, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Be in
Thank
touch
you.
soon, okay?
See you
Right.
soon.
Take care, everybody.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
take care, everyone. Bye.